Okay, so like definitely my question to the impression right now is that basically two of the people that have basically saved the protagonist's life in like the very first Squid game, like Ranu and that other person who like help like the protagonist as the protagonist was the fall in like the like in that game. So like I'm also thinking like one among either one among these two people or like I'm leaning more towards the positive that it will be one among these two people, either Sandwalk or like that other person who helped like the protagonist and claim the protagonist like in like the first game. Will be eventually like I'm considering that an inland can eventually fit game like I'm considering like the game's nature would be to like basically to turn like the attackers like the game players against each other and I'm considering so like in order to survive and win that game like they would have to try to like take each other's like it's like in the scenario that I'm talking and from that game I'm talking like either Sanwoo or like that other person who saved the protagonist's life right now, like trying to take the protagonist's life, and I'm whispering still like the protagonist like and I'm whispering the protagonist, but won't be trying to take their life in that game. But I'm whispering like the protagonist will be like doing his absolute best to like evade them, and I'm whispering in their attempt to like take the protagonist's life, trying to whispering them totally making some sort of a mistake and causing that resulting in like either sign vote on that other person who saved the protagonist's life in like the first game to like die in that first game in like the future. It's like the angel possible scenario that I'm basically developing for the future. Okay, so like definitely not working the game person right now, but like the people in like the radio showing up to like announce the results of the first game that right now I'm working the game person that like basically with like their whole map pattern being different right now with like the leader of like the people with like the red uniform alone like I think my person the game person that would be like the very same leader with like his map having like the very same red square, very same square shape drawing on it, but that's while all of the select peers in like the red uniform initially before like the first game, while they had like a circle drawn on their map, and right now them having like a triangle instead. Considering that would be totally signifying that level of grade that is the like it would be like a symbolic representation to like the candidates that to basically to tell them that they have moved on to the next level and that would mean like greater difficulty is definitely my preparation. And so like I'm preparing that, but like I'm preparing so in like after like the current candidates who among like the current candidates like the ones that will be completing like the second game and moving on to like the third game like at that point I'm preparing when the people in like the red uniform will be showing at that point I'm preparing this precise exactly lead current lead of like the people in like the red uniform the person with like the square drawing on mark I'm preparing definitely him to definitely change at that point and I'm preparing him to change into like either a person with like a circle drawing on his like mask or like a person with like a triangle drawing on his mask while his fears at that point would be having like mask drawings of like different shapes differently by anyway it should all be subtly trying to subtly trying to signify that the level upgrade and like increasing like toughness as like they move on to the greater levels just like the limit and so like according to my considered rushing that basically since like I'm delivering like after like the third game like the once you will be completing like the third game would be reaching that set point place like I'm delivering since like I think like the like currently like revealed that the like total like 6 games I think so basically since like I'm delivering like the completion of like the third game the once you completed like complete like the third game 3 games would be considered as like having made it to a checkpoint like place so like I'm delivering and I'm also bring after completing 3 games, like I'm also bring like the candidates getting like kind of like a resting time. Like I'm just bring maybe like the candidates getting like one whole day to basically it's also like a possibility that I'm just bring. So like basically since like according to my considered impression, I'm totally departing right after like the second game and once like the remaining survivors would be candidates would be like about to move on to like the third game before that since I'm personally totally departing like the leader in like the leader of like the people in like the current leader of like the people in like the red uniform, the one with like the square shape on his mask to definitely change since I'm personally departing him to totally change before like the third game. I'm personally departing that precise leader that will be replacing like the leader current leader in like red uniform with the square shape. I'm preferring that leader that will be that new leader that will be showing up. I'm preferring him to be like a lot more serious and scary and hard and intimidating. It's definitely my person through his like even though his like he would be wearing a mask, like his actions would be that much extreme and intimidating. And I'm preferring him to be like that leader to be someone that new leader to be someone with like very little patience and all that. It's definitely my personal favorite. I'm preferring that new leader would be like an extremely scary and intimidating leader. It's definitely my personal favorite. Also, like according to my personal impression from Santos, cutting after like the third game, like there would be like a checkpoint, like play a checkpoint like thing happening with like most likely one whole day of like rest possibly being given to like the candidates or survivors who will be completing like the third game and making it to like that checkpoint place, like checkpoint place. Like since this is like my personal impression, I'm totally something while like there will be extreme extreme huge gap in like the difficulty between like the first game and like the second game is what I'm something still about to bring like the gap in difficulty between like the third and the second game will be like double that of like the gap in difficulty between like the first and second game. It's definitely my total game with that, especially because of that checkpoint factor. I'm also bringing like the third game to be like way extremely way more difficult than compared to like the second game. It's like the it's my personal theory and prediction. So like my experience is that like, even though like the candidates will have gained like experience after going through like the first as well as like the second game, but the eventually once that they be entering like the third game and playing the third game, like the third game to definitely give them that absolute extreme shock. It's definitely my experience on that. The third game I'm personally preferring definitely see to be like a whole lot extremely not only difficult but like extremely different as well compared to like the first and second game is definitely my definitely impression that like the players will be in like absolute shock by entering into like the third game and by the time they will be like the remaining survivors that will be completing like the third game even after completing the third game and those from them to be in like total and extreme shock like I'm definitely putting some sort of like a twist in like the game in like the game's format in like the third game. It's definitely not just saying so that like I'm preparing after like even though I'm preparing like the people that will be like most likely that a scenario is like the people that will be dying in like the third game would be far greater in number can compared to like the first and second game. Still I'm developing uh after like the third game, definitely still seeing the my impression that like the remaining survivors like getting one possibly definitely getting one whole day of rest and in that day like I'm preparing them even though they will be like initially totally full of that shock of like going through like with a game and preparing like them totally taking absolute advantage of that one whole day that they will be getting to after reaching that checkpoint level to like their advantage and they will be like just calculating really like they will be like totally struggling their way into like getting over their fears by then after like reaching that after getting that through that one whole day they will be getting like then totally overcoming like their fears to like a certain extent and to bring them precisely creating their absolute ultimate strategy and then preparing like the protagonist definitely playing a major role in that whole strategy creation and everything and then also preparing after like the third game and also preparing things to like change a lot. Where like I'm preparing after like the third game, and like once like the remaining survivors will be participating in like the fourth game. Like I'm preparing after like the fourth game, like the people who will be dying in like the fourth game will be like far less when compared to like the people that will have died in like the first, second, and first or second or like third game. It's definitely like the scenario that I'm going to bring, and it would totally have to do with like their absolute teamwork and planning and strategy and basically like very few people would be like dying in like the fourth year. It's like the eventual scenario that I'm basically talking and my position and that will like totally and that would be totally like triggering like I'm considering like the person who would be like running like the Squid Game. So the villain person who will be running like the Squid Game is definitely my position. So like to break up that whole teamwork and their strategy and to possibly create like even more casualties will be like the intent of like the person running the executive game when conducting each of like, the games. So also like an individual possible and my talking to Emerson. So like I'm preparing like after like the fourth game and after like the person running like the Squid game, finding out that after like the fourth game that very few people have ended up dying. Like at that point, I'm preparing him to like totally give the orders to like the precise frontman to like basically switch things up and basically uh, things make things extremely hard so that like I'm preparing like the game would be perfectly set up so that like with like the self intent to like essentially make things extremely hard for them so that like the possibility of like a lot of casualties happening will be extremely high. Yet, like I'm preparing like them, like the candidates still keeping up their absolute teamwork and still I'm preparing like them still even in like the fifth game, I'm preparing like not much great casualties are going to happen. It's definitely my percentage and production right now. Yes, so like the very interesting right now is for like the remaining survivor candidates, like survive like the first game to like totally trying to take advantage of like the first clause of like their, I mean like the third clause of like their three agreement paper that they signed. That basically if the according to like if like the majority among the candidates want like the games to be terminated, then the games will be terminated. Like them only trying to take advantage of that clause and basically considering like the majority among like the candidates telling that we want the games to be like terminated. So like at that point, I'm also preparing for like the leader of like the uh, leader in like the radio and preparing him telling them that basically so like basically like you all wanting like the games to be terminated would be totally tying up with like the first and second clause where like you want like the games to be stopped in between like that you can't if you try to like stop the game in between like that I'm delivering at that point like the leader totally revealing that basically the game have already begun and if you want to like if you if, even if like the majority wants like the game to be terminated that will be considered as each of you individual wanting to like stop the game midway and hence according to like the first and second clause like basically you would all be terminated. Each one of you would be like straight away terminated. Like that's like the scenario that I was preparing for. Like what like the leader would be like leader of like the people in like the radio form would be telling like the uh, candidates and that's like the scenario that I was preparing and I was in the ambition. And at that point, I was reporting like some of like some among like the candidates straight away, like they will be probably just extremely shocked and scared and traumatized. That I was reporting like some among like the candidates, like basically even telling like the people in like the red uniform to like straight away terminate them. But like I was reporting, still like the majority would be like, even though they would be extremely scared, like still like the majority would be even more scared of like straight away getting terminated by like the people in like the radio phone and dying. So like I'm referring, even though they would be like the majority would be like majority among the candidates would be extremely scared of like the game still I'm preparing them totally risking deciding to like risk their life and attempt like the second game. It's like the scenario that I'm basically remembering I'm not in the game. So like definitely my into the impression right now is that like one among like the main duties of like the person wearing like the square throwing mask, like the leader of like the people in like the radio command of the princess, one among its main duties would be precisely to talk like after like the games like obviously when like the person running in the game would be like obviously expecting like after like the first game like everyone to be like totally scared and traumatized. So like at that point for like the person in like one of like the main duties assigned to like the person in like the leader of like the current leader of like the people in like the relevant form would be precisely to like talk in such a comforting manner so as to like basically once again trick all the scared and traumatized people into the and talk in like a comforting manner and basically once again like tempt them with like the whole prize money and their that being like fade away if they just win the game, and that way to like totally give them that false confidence and tempt them to like keep going with like the games like when in actuality definitely I'm still sticking to my personal impression that like the sixth game of like the Squid Games would be currently set up in like such a manner so as to like ensure that among like the 456 candidates like us would be no one even survives like the sixth game even if like a single person here among the candidates even makes it to the game to like specifically ensure that like not even that person will be able to like survive like the sixth game would be like the precise intent through which like the whole Squid game would be built in. This is definitely my personal theory impression. So that I'm delivering also definitely my personal impression is that eventually in like the sixth game like the precise survivors, like very few survivors, and considering maybe most likely it would be like 10 or under 10 would be like the possibly like the number of people that would be like participating in like the six Squid Game. It's definitely my personal impression. So in that Squid Game, I'm preparing even like the roles of and I'm preparing by then like through the experience, like the remaining survivors, like they would be like the toughest among like the positive uh, candidates, and I'm preparing them to totally uh, like uh, to basically half run up their minds and half that basically they will be like still even in such extremely dangerous circumstances that I'm going to bring them to still play the sixth game exceptionally is definitely my positive. And at that point I'm going to bring like the person running like the Squid Game to like totally get frustrated, that I'm going to bring him to like even change like the rules of like the sixth Squid Game. But midway while like the candidates will be participating like would be like playing like the Squid Game. So definitely my question related. That way, like even like the person running like the Squid Game, changing up the rule of like the Squid Game midway, and that way him like basically cheating like and basically doing as he please within like this Squid Game is also like, and that way so desperately trying to like ensure that absolutely no one survives like the Squid Game is also like an eventual scenario that I'm bring yet like even after like all that desperate attempt by like the person running like the Squid Game giving the orders to like the front man. I was trying to begin giving the orders to the front man mid while yeah halfway through like the candidates playing like the sixth Squid Game, like the front man would be like the third person giving the orders to like the remaining people in like the ready on to like change up the rules and make it like even more difficult like midway with as like midway of like the sixth Squid Game. It's definitely my observation. Even then I'm also bring like the protagonist and like a few of his like teammates like still surviving that sixth game is like definite mental scenario that I'm totally predict to happen, and that's my personal impression. So like in short, like my particular impressions are like the news of like the people in the red uniform, like basically talking about like the prize money in like a comforting manner to like the scared candidates will be just like in trying to tempt them with like the false offer, with the false offer of like the prize money of like a huge prize money and writing up there that like all that will be like a fake promise and false. It's definitely my particular impression just to like get them to like keep get the candidates to like keep playing like this good game. It's definitely my particular impression. Because my volunteer impression that like either the Squid Games will be conducted just solely for like the pure villainous entertainment of like the person running like the Squid Game, or like I'm considering like the Squid Games will be conducted for like maybe organ sending, or like I'm considering like the Squid Game being conducted precisely due to like the person running like the Squid Game precisely like his ultimate target precisely being like the protagonist, and like the person running like the Squid Game like being of like a billionaire who back during childhood might have been might have played like the Squid Game with like the protagonist back when the protagonist as well was like a child, and he might have always lost in like that Squid Game that he played with like the protagonist in his childhood, and might have only extremely envied like the protagonist for always getting to be for like the protagonist most of the time getting to be like Inspector Royal as well as like the precisely due to like the protagonist like exceptional performance, and the protagonist always most of the time winning like basically all of this like might have created that with jealousy in this child whom eventually might have grown up to be like the this like billionaire in like the person who would be like currently conducting like the Squid Game quite precisely targeting the protagonist, and was bringing like all the remaining participants of like the candidate participating in like the Squid Game would be like might have gotten trapped solely due to this like extreme jealousy of the size billionaire that the first billionaire will be having first billionaire who's conducting the Squid Game will be having to like the protagonist. It's also like the other possible theory and process. Also like the feeling of the generation right now with like so many of like the candidates right now like leading like the people in like the red uniform to basically let them leave, and also preferring like the right now also preferring like the leader of like the people in like the red uniform, or like one among the people in like the red uniform setting example by like terminating them by like revealing the clause to as like how clause to works, and basically by precisely revealing to like the remaining candidates that basically these people have basically broken the role of like the clause two, and basically and like they are going to get and basically taking their life and then under the ring for like the leader in like the red uniform to totally to basically reveal to like the remaining candidates that basically as per clause 2 like basically they have tried to like basically stop the game midway and hence like they have been terminated basically that way like I'm considering right now for like those people who would be like who are like pleading right now to basically want to leave the Squid Game and to spring those people precisely having their lives taken by the people in like the relevance of right now is like the scenario that I'm thinking about. Okay, so like definitely my personal impression right now, as for like the third class voting, like basically, I'm preferring like it still would be like a false voting. It's definitely my position. Like they would already like the candidates would have been already trapped the moment they step foot into that car and fell asleep. Is after seeing the password and fell asleep is definitely my position. Since that point itself, like they might have been like each of the candidates might have been potentially being trapped into like the fallen into like the trap of the game. It's definitely my premise. But like right now, so even through like the voting and separating right now for like even with like the extreme tempting with like the leader of like the people in like the red uniform even tempting with such a huge sum of money, still I'm separating like the majority to precisely the voting result I'm definitely preferring for like the majority of like the candidates to like vote to like they really exit could get is like the definite scenario that I'm considering. But like I'm considering that would be the point when like uh, the the fact that this was like that such an ultimate trap should be like revealed that basically even though the third was being like fought and fake would be only revealed at that point. It's definitely my consideration. The leader of like the people in like the red uniform at that point definitely revealing that basically the third clause like totally is connected with like the first and second clause and like each of you are considered as like wanting to like basically stop the Squid Game midway. So like either you can choose to get terminated or like you can continue to play the Squid Game. These are like your only two options. Like basically that way, basically the candidates are realizing that basically the third clause was like false and they it's like the scenario that I'm going to bring in. Okay, so like definitely my question to the person right now is like protagonist being like the first person to like vote like I'm considering right now I'm considering as like the protagonist will be stepping into like trying stepping forward and at that point I'm considering initially what would be going through the protagonist's mind would be like his initial decision I'm considering to definitely would be to like press the red button and to precisely exit the Squid Game. But like I'm considering precisely as like the protagonist would be reaching that podium where the two buttons would be like at that point I'm considering the protagonist of remembering his like daughter's face. And at that point, the protagonist, I'm considering the protagonist to sing along the lines of it like basically, even if he even if he press the red button to exit the Squid Game, and even if he exits that way the Squid Game and returns back alive, still like he still won't be able to like see his daughter because it's like daughter would be like saying leaving to America. So like at that point, if he doesn't have any money, like he won't be able to like see his daughter would be what like the protagonist would be thinking at that point, at that very last second as he will be about to press the red button. So like at that point, the product number to bring into the protagonist remembering his daughter's face and at that point him thinking along the lines as basically that like his only hope of being able to see his daughter and live with his daughter that only focus basically to like basically risk his life and cross the green but would be along the line the protagonist is sitting and with that I'm considering that the protagonist would be I'm definitely preferring like the protagonist essentially pressing like the green button is like the scenario that I'm considering. But still still sticking to my consideration that still like once like the voting results would be revealed like the majority would have definitely selected the red button and chosen to like escape the Squid Game, but yet like them not being able to like escape the Squid Game is like the scenario that I'm definitely totally putting and switching on to. Also, like definitely the way I'm mentioned right now that like even though Sangwoo was like the person who brought up like the topic of like the third floor with like the precise and that would have definitely been with like the precise intent for like Sangwoo badly does and desperately wanting to like escape his Squid Game. Get like I'm delivering definitely after like seeing like the huge sum of prize money I'm delivering Sangwoo right now to definitely choose to play to continue playing the Squid Game. It's like the scenario that I'm delivering. Okay, so like definitely emergency reaction right now was like the voting was like almost like evenly matched, like I'm considering like the eventual final scenario to be right now. I'm considering like the eventual final scenario to be like finally once like the entire once like the entire like the but like currently there being like 201 like candidates or remaining survivors, like I'm considering once like the 200 candidates would have done voting, like I'm considering it would be like an even voting, and so like it will be all down to that one last person uh, that will be deciding like the fate of like all the 201 people at that point. And I'm preferring that last person to precisely vote uh, on the X, like what to like precisely that I'm definitely preferring that last person to like vote to precisely exit the Squid Games, like the scenario that I'm preferring. So like I'm preferring the people who badly wanted, desperately wanted to like exit the Squid Game, like totally cheering and being like totally overjoyed and relieved at that time. And I'm considering at that point would be when like the whole twist happening with like the leader of like the people in like the red uniform revealing the trap that basically when with like them the people wanting to like exit like the Squid Game having like the majority vote still like they can still they won't be allowed to like escape, and like him making excuses with like the first and second club having a tie-up with like the third club, it's like the different scenario that I'm still thinking on to end with the range, and that way like them realizing that absolute trap of like the studio, and it's like the scenario that I'm still thinking on to end with the impression. Yeah, so like definitely I was into the impression right now that basically even though two voting like the protagonist have escaped like this game right now for right now, the preferring the protagonist especially eventually like returning back to like the game, and I'm preferring like the precise reason would be definitely either I'm preferring two possibilities being like either like the protagonist like basically like basically like the rate for like the protagonist like daughter basically leading to America, like becoming closer and closer to like that, like the protagonist not being able to like handle like him not being able to like see his like daughter again. Solely due to like the protagonist not having any money. And I'm considering this alone being like one possibility, or like I'm leaning more towards the possibility that on top of this, like I'm considering even more pressure, forcing like the protagonist to want to like re-enter back into the next game. And I'm considering that this reason would be most likely the protagonist like mother, like her either getting into some accident or like I'm considering her falling seriously ill. So like I'm considering since like at that point like the protagonist like with like protagonist daughter about to leave the American. So like since like the protagonist mother would be the only person that protagonist would be currently like having in his life. So uh, the only person that the protagonist will be having in his life at that point. So like with her as well falling seriously ill, and like I'm preparing like her requiring like the doctor telling the protagonist that her requiring some sort of like costly medicine, or like her if it's like an accident, like I'm preparing her needing some complex surgery or something. So like a lot of money required for such a scenario, and so like that this possibly I'm leaning more towards the possibility that like this combined uh, situation being like the possibly forcing like the protagonist to decide to like head back into like the game. And I was wondering before doing that, like the protagonist like totally finding Sangwoo and meeting up with like Sangwoo, and like basically them discussing the absolute strategy, and like them totally discussing a lot of strategy, and then like trying to enter back, and then them entering back into like this good game well prepared like scenario that I'm able to bring. And I'm able to bring maybe the protagonist finding like maybe even more people other than Sangwoo. It's also definitely my possibility. Maybe like I'm looking for the protagonist also finding this precise girl who had stolen like the 4 million from like the protagonist. Eventually I'm also bringing the protagonist like bonding with that girl, and forming a like a bond of friendship with that girl, and basically maybe it would be like the trio of them, and then the maybe like it would be like Sangwoo, the protagonist, and that girl, and maybe that aggressive guy as well. Like it would be like the quadro of them, or like I'm bring the protagonist like finding other people as well to join, like maybe other friends of like the protagonist as well. Like maybe the protagonist basically like totally revealing about like the extreme situation in like the Squid Game to like a bunch of friends of like the protagonist as to like what's the catch, like basically it's like a life or death game, and but like at the same time like it's about like the extremely huge like prize money and all that basically that way. And considering like the next time the protagonist will be entering like this game, the protagonist definitely won't be entering by himself. Like he will be having like a whole lot of people along with him entering into the Squid Game, and this will be exactly what like the person running like the Squid Game would be totally able to like foresee such a scenarios definitely my doesn't and why like the voting process might have even been kept so that like the people who have experienced like the Squid Games, like the extremities of like, the Squid Games will be like even if they escape, like they would be only like the only signature scenario would be like them returning back, even if not everyone among like the escapees, the people who have escaped the Squid Game would be returning back still. Like the one among the ones that would be returning back to like the Squid Game, they won't be like returning back themselves because of like them having that fear within him of experiencing the dangers of the Squid Game, that they would be like bringing a lot of people along with them to participate in like the Squid Game on their own will. So that is basically like from 456, like from the initial 456, the person running the Squid Game would be getting even more people to like basically play the Squid Game, which would be exactly what like the person running the Squid Game wants is definitely my person running. So like with this precise intent, like I'm the bring like the person running the Squid Game might have even allowed like the through the voting process for like the candidates of the Squid Game to like even the Squid Game island is definitely my own very impression. Um, and the very impression definitely that like the eventually like the next time like the protagonist and like oppose great number of people that will be entering like the Squid Game next time, way more than so it's maybe like even 1,000 is like also like a possibility where I'm doing. But like at that point I was preparing even at that point after like the first Squid Game I was preparing once again like the people, even though they will be, the candidates would have like been fully entered the Squid Game, like still like considering the first game at that point will be way more considering definitely to be not the very same red light and green light, and I'm considering it would be like a totally different game, or like I'm considering it would be like the very same red light, green light, but like with like way more increased difficulty. Just like the possible multiple scenarios, like a possibility that I'm considering. And at that point, like from like the very first Squid Game, like I'm considering like the remaining survivors being so extremely scared that I'm considering them once again requesting for like the majority voting. And I'm considering like at that point I'm definitely considering like the majority voting to not go in like the favor of like the protagonist. I'm considering even at that point I'm considering maybe for like the protagonist like after like the very first game, like once again being so extremely scared that he might want to like escape the Squid Game. Like I'm just referring, like even though fully at that point, like the protagonist would have entered, like still like due to like the extreme like intimidating factor of like the Squid Game at that point, like I'm just referring, it would totally scare the protagonist. And once again, and I'm just referring once again, like the protagonist totally regretting his actions to the extreme, and the protagonist like after like the first game, even though he would be surprising, he badly wanting to like leave the Squid Game. And at that point, it's well, I'm just referring like a majority voting to happen, but like I'm just referring at that point definitely for like I'm preferring two possibilities, like either that at that point like the majority voting ending up not being in like the favor of like the people who want to like exit the Squid Game. That's like one possibility that I'm preferring. Or like I'm preferring this will be that ultimate trap. Like it might have been like the first person running the Squid Game. This plan might have been to possibly being to like basically trap like the candidate like the second time on like they will be like entering like the Squid Game with like a lot more of like their friends, so that like uh friends or people they know, so that like in like the second time like the people will be playing like the Squid Game, there will be like a whole lot more great number of people joining the Squid Game. And at that point, since like I'm preparing like the person running like the Squid Game and secretly watching the Squid Game would be getting exactly what he wants at that point. Definitely my person as well. Like at that point, I'm preparing him switching up the roles and basically him trapping all of them there and not allowing them to leave. So like with the with like second time as well, like after like the first game, once again like the majority voting happening, and even at that point, like and this is like the other possibility that I'm looking at, even like in like that voting as well at that time as well, basically the majority wanting to like leave the Squid Game, but like still at that point, like I'm also preferring that still like the people in the red uniform like making up some sort of an excuse and basically not allowing them to leave, and at that point, them all realizing that basically it was like an ultimate trap set for them then in this entire time. Like basically, it's like the eventual other possible scenario and theory and myself in theory and prediction. Okay, so like maybe my opportunity I'm concerned right now is that like maybe like under continuance of the different maybe eventually like once like a song you will be planning on like with like extreme depth and long like eventually the different song will totally deciding to like return back to like the Squid game and at that point I'm also putting like the protagonist as well to it only along with like song and but I'm planning on returning back to like the city and together. And at that point, I'm also bringing it to be like so. At that point, I'm also bringing to this song who making all the plans and decisions and playing the role of leader. And I'm also bringing song who like deciding that he will like not just need like the protagonist, but he would like definitely need to strategize before re-entering back into like the city and in order to, and he would need like a bunch of people with him to end up together with like with them to basically discuss like proper strategies with like and form a proper strategy between like a bunch of individuals and enter like this game as a group would be like John was like eventual strategy and plan and I'm considering that eventually in order to get more people and considering John was only like artisan business manner and also John was eventually only finding the price guy to whom Sangu right now had paid money for like the bus ride and then different Sangu asking that money back and then supporting like him and my particular impression that like that kind-hearted person and also he will be like so extremely poor that basically he won't be able to like pay back that money that Sangu had given him for like the bus ride at all. Like I'm different that money that Sangu had given him and different will be like a lot of money, like way more than what's required for like the bus ride, especially my bus ride. So, like that much money I'm considering that kind-hearted person and particularly he won't be once like eventually Sangu will be like blackmailing him by like asking that money back like or like that like he should like join Sangu and they really run back to like the city in such a manner and particularly Sangu eventually villainously trying to like threaten and blackmailing that's the kind-hearted person and that way like I'm going to bring that seeing how like ambassador that were kind of the person eventually returned back to the Squid Game along with like Sango and like the protagonist with the name of the eventual possible scenario that ambassador the and that was Sango doing all this, like villainous things like villainous like blackmailing and all that like behind the protagonist back is definitely my doesn't remember because like the protagonist would be like a genuine kind of person who would be like totally against like such villainous things and all that. So like ambassador in Sang but like Sango would have that villainous in him where like he will be like willing to go through any extent to like basically to actually pay off with like that extreme debt and long to definitely my comfortable. So like eventually Sang will take advantage of like the money he's like right now giving to that poor kind of person for his like the journey back to the back home for his like bus ride back to home. This is definitely an eventual possible scenario that I'm going to bring another I'm considering my considering impressions that like that kind-hearted person to whom like this person who had given that money for like the bus ride like I'm considering him to totally be a man of like ethics that I'm considering like once like Sangu the different according to my secondary eventually once the different for Sangu eventually blackmailing him and asking the money back. Like at that point, I'm considering him like being so extremely desperate to like basically somehow pay back Sangu and then considering him totally like desperately and like the threat that Sangu would be making would be like either him having to like return back the money to Sangu or like him having to play the Squid Game along with Sangu. That would be like the threat of like a decision that would be like the two choices that Sangu would be eventually given him. Definitely my business but like at that point I'm considering having already experienced like the extreme danger of like the Squid Game. I'm considering him to like that kind of person to like desperately try to like borrow money from people from all the people he will be like friends with and all the people who he knows like I'm considering him so desperately trying to like borrow attempting to like try to like borrow asking for money from all of those people to just to pay back Sangu. But like I'm considering him totally failing to him not being able to like make like the required amount that Sangu had given step for the spread is definitely my personal remedy. So like I'm considering at that point I'm considering like due to like that kind of person just like due to the ethics like I'm considering him like uh, just because of like that reason alone I'm considering him even while realizing the extreme dangers of like the civilian having even after having already played like the first game, the red light, green light game of the Squid Game, and knowing that it's been trained of lying awake in like the Squid Game, him still solely holding on to his ethics and basically because because of him not being able to like pay Sangwoo back, like him basically agreeing to like enter back into like this again along with Sangwoo's like preventing scenario that I'm like and about the parting maybe like him to like progress a lot like but like about the parting him to not be among like the final survivors of like the studio along with the protagonist definitely my person to and about the parting like him that kind of person eventually dying before Sangwoo, but still about the parting Sangwoo as well not making it to completing like the Squid Game. And then before that, I'm looking Sangwoo as well will be like eventually dying. Definitely like the eventual scenario that I'm looking at. I'm not looking at the also, like, definitely my person the instructions that like after returning from like the Squid Game, like the girl who stole like the 4 million from like the protagonist, like Sung Gi-yoon, like the girl who stole like the 4 million when she frees Sung Gi-yoon, like basically her dialogue that basically that Sung Gi-yoon doesn't about like Sung Gi-yoon not finding just like mother's like important, like after that dialogue would be definitely a foreshadowing. It's definitely my person the impression, like a foreshadowing to basically eventually that considering like the protagonist like mother either getting into an accident or like falling seriously in and that way like the at that point like the protagonist realizing like the importance how much like his mother was important to him and all that like it's like an eventual scenario that I'm looking at and not going to. Yeah, so like definitely my secondary impression right now, as for like the first stranger who's like right now staring at like the Squid Game card in like the police station, and this is him to be like the chief police officer. It's definitely my secondary impression. He might have only gone undercover to like catch that criminal whom he had caught and arrested and brought to like the police station. It's definitely my secondary impression. Like I'm considering meanwhile like, the remaining police officers might have no, didn't take Sangi seriously at all. Like I'm preferring like that the chief police officer might have definitely taken like the whole complaint of like Sangi seriously. It's certainly my preference. Like he might have had like the chief police officer might have had like so far more experience than the remaining officers that like he might have definitely been able to like sense something like serious and suspicious in like actually suspicious in like someone who's like complaining. It's definitely my concern. So like I'm preparing right now for him to like precisely approach Sangwoo and like to get more to like find more about like the things to get more details about like the things Sangwoo is saying and to basically to confirm if like what Sangwoo is saying is like actually true or not. Like I'm considering him to definitely take Sangwoo seriously and I'm considering him with his like undercover uniform like undercover outfit like I'm considering him totally casually interacting with like Sangwoo as of like, and I'm preferring Sangwoo not being able to maybe not. I'm preferring Sangwoo might have not paid attention to him back in like the police station. So like I'm preferring such a scenario where like Sangwoo would be like not aware that he's like a police officer, and I'm preferring him just casually asking Sangwoo about like as like we just saw Sangwoo like at like, the police station and all that like and through the casual interaction like he trying to extract out information from like Sangwoo and then about to bring him to like seriously tell Sangwoo that he's like the chief police officer and then about the bring like maybe about the bring Sangwoo like about the bring Sangwoo will be like totally right now since like Sangwoo is like so extremely determined and extremely enraged and extremely determined to like capture like the people behind like the game and about to bring and bring them to justice like and about to bring maybe like the according to like the precise idea of like the chief police officer and the chief police officer telling Sangwoo that basically let's go back that he should Sangwoo should go back into like the stadium and not by himself this time like that the chief police officer as well would be like going along with Sangwoo too and we can arrest and bring them to like justice would be along the line like the chief police officer is saying Sangwoo especially my preference and I'm preferring like through the whole and eventual interaction between like the chief police officer and Sangwoo which like everything Sangwoo would be like telling about like the students would be like I'm preferring the chief police officer to definitely be convinced definitely my best of it. So like precisely because of that's what I'm preferring like the chief police officer telling Sangwoo that basically this idea and plan and strategy to like basically return back to like this studio is like the scenario that I'm only preferring. And about the next time Sangu will be like returning into the Squid Game, definitely the chief police officer would be like entering into like the Squid Game and with like Sangu as like in undercover as like one of like the candidates of like the Squid Game. It's definitely my personal understand. And specifically my personal understand that like the return of Sangu to back into like the Squid Game and the bringing they happen around the time when according to my personal and speaking on to that basically with like Sangu's mother like getting into an accident or having like some major illness, especially with immigrants. So like even though money would be like extremely important and in the Tangu would be in desperate need for money, like I'm also bring on top of that, like I'm also bring Tangu remembering like the word from that side chief police inspector as well. That basically that they need to like return back to like the system that they can like return back to like just to gain and capture all of them. So like I'm also bring when like the chief police officer will be initially telling about his plan to like Sangu and the initially Sangu will be like so extremely scared that Sangu still won't be like not agreeing to like the police officer for him to like basically return back into like the studio and like then the thing Sangu will be totally telling to like the chief that basically that you should find you should form a search party and find the location and everything will be around the line Sangu will be saying so like but like the chief without any like having any solid details like he won't be able to like he would be telling Sangu that he won't be able to like find anything about them. So like about different like so that would be the reason for like him telling Sangu to basically the next time like Sangu get a chance to like basically run back into like the good game at that point to basically that like the chief as well would be like entering along with Sangu and then so like at that point like Sangu feeling like by the time like I'm the super eventually Sangu mother would be falling ill or or like getting into an accident at that point Sangu like remembering all this like and Sangu also thinking about this offer and everything and Sangu at that point I'm also feeling a bit more confident than like and at that point, Sang was desperately wanting money for like to solve all the issues in his life, but to save his mother as well as like to be able to like live with his thoughts. Like all that thoughts coming to Sangu's mind, and Sangu at that point deciding to like basically re-enter back into like this game. And bring around that time, Sangu falling like this game. And at that point, I'm like Sangu like only at that point, Sangu fall being able to get connected into like the actual Squid game feature. And I'm also at that point, I was bring Sangu, deciding to like, telling them that like he's like returning back and to be like joining like the stadium again. And that point, I was bring Sangu totally feeling like a bit more confident and like not as scared as like the last time he won. He was like not afraid to like escape the stadium. Like basically, Sangu, I was bring at that point like before him joining like the stadium for like the second time, I was bring Sangu feeling a bit courageous because of like because of like the inspector that like the fact that like the inspector like the chief would be also police chief would be also like joining like Sanjay into like the Squid Game. But like I'm also like the scenario to be like basically even precisely in like the first round itself I'm also putting some things to like I'm definitely running into like the very first Squid Game itself like the chief police officer like totally lying in like the Squid Game like the scenario that I'm also bringing and at that point like the whole courage that Sang had until that point, like was like the chief police officer dying in like the very first game. Like at that point, Silpan was suffering Sang like once again that extreme fear kicking into like Sang at that point. It's definitely my personal understand. And my personal impression that like eventually even though sort of my personal and definitely the thing like the police chief to like definitely enter into like the game and the bring he did like entering through some sort of like an ultimate disguise and about the bringing that so that's police chief creating somehow creating like absolute fake records and history and that way like framing the police officer like consciously framing himself into like someone who's like totally filled with like also with like extreme depths and all that and basically the police officer creating such a profile of himself and basically that way like I'm bring maybe like the police chief like even entering like the school game would be through such a manner by tricking like the people behind like the school game into like seeing like the police chief without realizing like not and about the police chief even going through some disguise like and to basically and that way like tricking like the people behind like this good game to them not realizing that it was like it's like the police chief like them totally seeing like the police chief as like an ideal candidate for like the Squid Game and like them accepting to like the Squid Game, but still I'm about to bring in like the very first round like the for like the police chief to like only die in like the very first Squid Game is like the eventual scenario that I was going to bring another thing. Yes, so like correction because like my person theory and correction right now connecting to like the police chief, I was like referring to like Sanvi on like the Afghanistan, not Sanvi. Okay, so like the plane numbers in the ambition right now as well, like Congress, like bet on the future that Sanu made in like the past and the different this whole bet on the future might be Sanu betting on even this like targets. It's definitely my opinion. And my opinion is that like maybe that might be that the reason for Sanu saying that it's like it was like a bet on the future because like Sanu might have definitely lost that bet. So like basically it will be like Sanu's future will be actually basically Sangwoo having to like if Sangwoo is not able to like pay back that and loan like Sangwoo possibly having to like Sangwoo possibly having a future that he will be having like some of his organs is definitely my personal impression. Say like this might be like the whole bet on the future that Sangwoo might have made. It's definitely my personal impression. Okay, so like definitely my personal impression right now as for like where exactly the undercover police officer will be heading off to. Like I'm about to try to be precisely heading off to like this apartment, which will be like the apartment of this like brother. That's definitely my personal image. And his brother and the thing would be like precisely that my personal reference is that like this precise police officer brother might be the precise person that had died in like the very first Squid Game by precisely the very person who had basically begged for like help for like the Sangyun during like the red light green light Squid Game by holding on to like Sangyun's leg and basically that Sangyun couldn't save like basically that precise person might be like either like the elder or younger brother of this police officer which definitely might person to remember. So like this might be the precise reason for like this precise police officer taking special interest towards like and taking Sangyun like seriously. So like while all the remaining also officers didn't take Sangyun seriously, this officer they don't taking Sangyun seriously was precisely because of like him not having heard of anything of this like for like a while now. It's definitely my personal impression. So and I'm preparing like until before like entering like the Squid Game even though like his brother might not pick like might not have not picked the calls of like their mother or like this police of the first ground court like even by he might have not picked up the call but still like the call would still ring but like I'm preparing precisely towards the precise time when like Sanjeevan talks about like having been taken into like this good game. But for instance, then I was referring even like even ports to like the and since then I was referring like especially around that time like I'm referring like the phone of like the brother of like this police officer might have been especially stop. Definitely my personal impression. So this is my personal reason. So like I'm referring the police officer like right now heading off to like the apartment of like and I'm wondering like this brother of like, the police officer would be like totally exactly like every candidate of like the very first good game like basically had so much of that like I'm wondering this brother of like the police officer as well having so much of that and basically the police officer knowing about it like I'm wondering that the police officer, their mother might have not known about like that tools uh, that her son had, but like I'm picturing like the police officer might have definitely known like about like the that like that his brother had. It's definitely my personal impression. So like I'm picturing maybe like the uh, police officer might have thought like his brother might be able to like manage it and solve it on pay it back on his own. So like I'm picturing that might be the reason for like the officer not actually bothering to like even when like brother had got the calls like basically like the police officer not deciding to like go up to like the uh, to his like brother's apartment and forcefully try to meet him. That's definitely my generation. So right now we're preparing just like the police officer heading off to like the apartment, like him totally finding most likely the apartment law is definitely my consideration. And I'm preferring maybe I'm preferring maybe like in finding some the precise exact card that basically Sangyun, like the card of like Squid Game that Sangyun had basically about to bring that card might be present within that apartment as like police officer would be like searching the apartment of the brother like from within like he would be finding that precise card. It's like the scenario that I'm that card of the Squid Game. It's like the scenario that I'm delivering. And that at that point it being that absolute shock for like the police officer that and like him supposedly having a feeling as to like what might have happened to his like brother and him like seriously fearing like the world that his brother might have that like everything like that Sanjeev had said in like the for, in like the station was like exactly being right and like so if that will be a right like then like his brother the police officer brother might have actually died by now. Basically the police officer shockingly like think realizing such a possibility and basically then about the like the police officer like straight away like deciding to like the very next thing like would be like after like finding most likely finding like the same school game card in like his brother's apartment. Like the very next thing, like the police officer will be doing that, he will be extremely worried that he will be straight away searching for precisely Sangyeon to talk to Sangyeon about like this game that Sangyeon like totally had recorded about in the station and all that. Like so, like that way, like the whole detailed talks between like Sangyeon and like police officer happening, and that way, like the ambassador, like the police officer precisely forming his strategy to like precisely capture and trap like the people behind like the death of not only his like brother, precious brother, but also like behind these people, villain people who are like behind like the people behind taking the lives of all great number of people and all that. So like ambassador, um, at that point, I'm preparing definitely I'm speaking to my preparing pressure that like Sangyeon, especially right now with like Sangyeon like mother situation and everything like Sangyeon definitely I'm personally preparing right now would be totally taking that absolute decision that basically to Sangyeon would be like at this point won't be like caring if he when he dies and basically Sangyeon's like only priority in his mind would be to like precisely make to enter back into like this good game, make that money so that like he could like not only save his mother, but he could also live with his like daughter and set everything, his life straight and everything right. Uh, so like I was bringing you like totally determined right now itself like after like finding out about his like mother situation like I'm bringing right now Sang Yoon being like determined to like basically enter back into like the studio and it will be precisely when Sang Yoon would be in such a perfect mind state and mindset will be precisely whenever the like the police officer would be like precisely finding Sang Yoon and would be talking to like Sang Yoon about like this whole game. And at that point, I was preparing like definitely the police officer as well, telling Sang that he too is going to like end into like this game along with Sang. So we definitely like the ambition. So like and that would be like the police officers like strategies like capture everyone behind like this game. So like I was preparing like the police officer being totally kind of like maybe like in like totally thinking that like confidently thinking that basically he will be able to like that way capture all those people and basically bring down like the people behind like the Squid Game and the rest of his brother and all that. So like I was bringing the police officer like exactly at that point when Sangyun when getting up and bringing like the Squid Game like a bunch of precisely meeting up with Sangyun and talking about like Squid Game that I'm was trying to give that precise confidence to Sangyun to like basically enter back into like the Squid Game so, along with the police officer chief by the side. It's definitely my impression. So, and I was thinking he would be like the main chief of like that station, the Indian Military I'm looking for. So like, but still I'm thinking like that chief police officer to like not progress much at all in like the Squid Game. I was thinking like maybe it would be in like the first game or like at most like I was thinking like that police officer to only make it to like the second game in like the Squid Game and like before he dies, like the scenario that I'm still thinking on to end. From that point on, it would be all down to like Sang so like the living room the version that like with like Sangyung's like current situation of somewhere which is like mother like I was worrying even after like the police chief after like searching the apartment of his brother and like finding that the place card is like the scenario that I was worrying. After that like one thing would be like meeting up like totally meeting Sangyung and questioning Sangyung like even at that point I was thinking maybe Sangyung totally even not cooperating and trying to like lie especially because of like money being so Sangyun being such in such extreme need for money. It's definitely my commentary embraces. So like it like the people behind it for us of and Sangyun point of view Sangyun at that point would you think that if the people behind the skill game get up and then nothing will be like changing in like Sangyun's life. Like Sangyun won't be making any money like that. Sangyun at that point would be like only thing that skill game is like Sangyun's only hope of like setting everything right in his life. So like I was referring initially for Sangyun to not at all cooperate with like the police but like I was referring that the police eventually only figuring out as to like why exactly Sang-Yoon is not about cooperating with him. So like I'm to bring like the police she's totally telling Sang-Yoon that like that there will definitely be a reward like a money reward for definitely helping the police capture the people behind the Squid game. So like at that point would be when I'm to bring Sang-Yoon will be finally cooperating with like the police chief and I'm to bring then the two of them eventually strategizing and eventually entering like the stadium together. So that's doing a person theory and question. So like the playing of the theory and question right now with like the girl who stole like the 4 million from Sanji and like basically talking to this child like I'm think that child will definitely be an orphan and so it be like that girl who stole like the 4 million she who might definitely be an orphan who's definitely might be vision and both great number of children like the park like all of them as well might be orphans is definitely might be vision and so like that sister giving ice cream to like the children. Like she would be part of like the orphanage in which like all these children lives. Like she would be like the one of the many sisters would be like looking after like the children in the said orphanage, which definitely might have been and then something like uh, some sort of like issue might have caused like the orphanage to basically go to not be able to like a lot of money might be like required for like the orphanage to keep functioning. It's definitely my business ambition. So like to save all these children. It's definitely especially because like my business ambition that like the girl who stole like the 4 million as well might have only grew up in that very same orphanage. It's definitely my business ambition. So like it will be precisely due to all that reasons that I'm different like the they also stole like the 4 million might be so desperate for like a lot of money. And I was thinking like the debt that orphanage might be having it would be like extremely huge that like even 4 million uh won't be like nowhere near enough to like repay back all that great debt. It's definitely my personal language. So like maybe that might be the reason for like her even after like that girl had stolen like the 4 million from like the protagonist, like even then like for her to like even even after that like for her to like join like the school game might be because of this like basically the theft would be that much extreme. It's still definitely my personal reaction. So this would be the reason for like her even pressing like the green button on like basically her decision to like basically wanting to like continue like this good game after like the very first good game is also definitely my personal reaction because like my personal reaction is that like for uh for that girl who stole like the 4 million from like the profit from like some game like for that girl like a life her life wouldn't have any meaning if she is not able to like save that orphanage and all that. So it's definitely my personal opinion. So like she wouldn't even so especially because of this reason like she wouldn't be like afraid of like dying if it's for those children in like the orphanage. It's definitely my personal theory and pressure. Okay, so like definitely going to the impression right now is that like even while like the store like the 4 million from Sanji and like basically the kid she's talking to is like her brother like while his like her brother and the thing like she would be like totally lying to him about like basically them or about them being able to like live with their parents by next year, especially my personal impression that because like my personal impression that like what might have caused like and then considering like it would be right now her brother would be right now in an orphanage, definitely my personal impression. So look, there's a reason that might have caused her, and I'm referring it might have been to the biggest sister that might have like got him into that orphanage. Secondly, my business answer tradition and my question to them was that like the reason would be precisely due to their parents that definitely not the friends in like either like maybe due to some accident like their parents might have died and like I'm considering like the sister might have totally kept that information hidden from kid brother. Certainly not of dream to like not make him sad. Like she might have hidden that information from her. kid brother and might have gotten to an orphanage and might have been like saying all sorts of like in that time that basically one day they will be able to like live with their parents like by next year and all that. It's definitely my brother ambition. Actually, like the only thing in that girl's mind would be to like precisely make enough money so that like she would be able to like live comfortably with her brother. She would be able to like get her brother uh, back from like the orphanage and like she would be able to like live with her brother in like an actual home. So like basically this would be like the ultimate goal of like that girl is definitely my first theory impression and like she might be planning on then to like once she will be making all the money like only at that point when could be when like she will be planning on telling the truth about the parents that show her kid brother is definitely my first theory impression. So like until then to like keep like giving that hope to like the current kid from them so that like he wouldn't like so that like he would have something to like look forward to, especially my person temperature. So like I'm considering that the sister might be only hoping that like once she would be that once she and I'm considering by her like even saying that by next year like I'm considering like it would have to do with, like the girl that only hoping that basically before next year like she will be able to like re-enter back into like the Squid Game and like win the Squid Game and make all that money. And so like at that point, even if say she gets if she gets all that able to like make all that money, then at that point like even if she reveals the sad news about their parents death to her kid brother, still like at least like she will be able to like comfort her kid brother by uh, getting him back from like the orphanage and basically with like them being able to like live together in like a home like at that point like at least like she would be able to like that way comfort her kid brother would be what she would be thinking. It's definitely my personal ambition. So like I'm considering like her brother's like happy face and like her brother's joy would be like the sole reason for like I'm considering and for them to be able to like live together would be like the in a proper form would be like the sole reason for different things. The sister, like the girl who stole like the 4 million from like the protagonist, even going to the extreme extent of playing like the Squid Game and putting her life on the line. It's definitely my person to be ambition right now. I would say like definitely my person to be ambition right now with like the girl who stole like the 4 million from Sanji and like wanting to get her parents across the board. Like definitely the person to be ambition right now is that like the Squid Games, like the first island in which like the Squid Game is even taken place, like that island would be across the board. It's definitely my person to be ambition. Like I'm the different definitely eventually after like winning like the Squid Game and escaping from like the escaping from like the whole building of like the Squid Game and considering to be only at that point that I'm considering like this girl would be like totally realizing that like the location where this island is like that basically it's like beyond the borders and basically I'm considering from there like I'm considering she will be able to because of like and that way eventually because of participating in like the Squid Game without like the money without even like the money I'm considering her even without that being able to cross the borders and basically get her parents and basically get them back to like a place that lead my to the reimbursement. So yeah, that's like an eventual scenario that I'm going to different where like I'm going to bring definitely it won't be through money that I'm going to bring like that girl would be getting her parents to cross the border. Definitely the eventual scenario that I'm going to everything and not to the reimbursement.